Hi, welcome to the Stamping Scene with Zoe Tent. I'm sharing today one idea for using embossing paste. So I've got my silicone mat, I've got my little tool set which are looking a bit worn, but I've had them a long time. I'm also using the Fragrant Layers, which is a new online exclusive stamp set coming out next month. And what else have I got? I've got some black card, some white, thick white card, and some straight basic white card. First of all, I'm going to use the embossing paste, and I've already got some colours ready as well, because I'm going to, rather than use it as just white, I've got Lemon Lolly Reinker, Soft Sea Foam, and Fresh Freesia. And I'm just going to put 3 little dollops, so to speak, on my mat, except I'm going to do them individually, if that makes sense. So there's one, maybe a little bit more. The one thing I struggle with embossing paste is always judging how much to put down. So I'll have them like that, and perhaps get rid of that bit in there, a little bit more there. Okay, and then you want to fasten your lid back on. I always keep the foil as well and pop that back on the top. Just helps to keep it moist. And then screw the lid on nice and tight and put that to one side. Then we'll keep that one there. I've got that one there and this one here. And I'm just going to add the barest drop of Reinker, if I can manage that, to each. So I'm going to mix that, because I don't want it to be, as you can see, in its full colour. That is really bright. Now, you might be doing balloons or something and want a really full colour, but I want it to be a little bit subtler than that. So I'm mixing it all together, bring it all back, and then try and get these other bits involved. So I've got that done. And then on my piece of thick white, which I've cut to go on my black card base. So I've just taken a little bit, I've got a standard card base, and then I've just taken a little trim off the edge. And I'm going to grab that and I'm going to spread that like plaster across my card, and probably put a little bit more on, but spread it like that. And then put that to one side. I can use that on something else when I've done this. Next one I'm going to do is a little bit of, again, 1 drop. Oh, that might be a little bit more, but then this colour luckily is very subtle. So it's trying to mix it, get it all the way through. You can always go back and add more, but you can't take colour away, obviously. So mixing it all in, making sure it's nice and mixed so it is all green. And this will rinse off my silicone mat when I'm finished. And you want to do that fairly promptly if you do something like this. Any excess you can use on something else. So I'm going to do the same and spread that a little bit. So otherwise, if it's too thick, it will take a bit of time to dry. And then this last one, I'm going to use the Fresh Freesia, and again 1 drop, like so. Ooh, let's mix that all in. And it all looks a bit scary at first when it's first in there and really bold, but if you just move it around, mix it all in. Don't want white streaks if I can help it. So gather it all together on my trowel, so to speak, and move that. Oop. Come back on that side. Now the nice thing about this, now I've caught a little bit of green, but that's okay, because with the scissors I can probably, before it dries, just take off the excess, in fact even with my finger. Just do it really carefully though. And I've mixed those, so again I'm going to just try and take that off. And maybe just match that a little bit more. Okay, so we'll just move those out of the way. And then you want to just let that dry, which could take quite a while. So I've prepared one earlier that went a little bit smoother, and that dried, and I will use that for my card. Now while that's drying, and it probably will take longer than the actual video, so hence the one I prepared earlier in my good Blue Peter fashion, for those of you that are old enough. I then am going to stamp, so I'll show you one way that I did it. I stamped with Memento Black, and that looks nice, and it will work perfectly fine. And I'm just looking for my cleaner. I'm using my scrub to just make sure I clean it off, because the next thing I'm going to use is Versamark, and I don't want to put black marks all over my Versamark pad. So we've made sure that's nice and clean. And then I've got my Versamark here. So the other option to make it stand out a little bit more would be to emboss it with black powder, heat emboss it. And I'm actually going to leave it as a black and white image, but I will show you another version that I coloured it in. So, and you can then decide which you like the best. So make sure we get the whole flower. We get a bit of grid paper, just to catch the powder. Let's find it here. So just gently tip it over there, tap it off. Now I've got some little flecks around it. I'm not going to worry about those because I'm actually going to fussy cut it out once it's been heat embossed. So I'll be back with the heat embossed version. So there you can see the two. So this is obviously much bolder, a few speckles, but like I say, I'm going to cut it out. And this is just stamping with black ink. So it's your choice which way you want to do it. So I'll just empty this back into the pot. Put that out of the way. Put the lid on before I knock it everywhere. And then with paper snips, I can then very carefully fussy cut this out. Now you might say use the die. Well, the die that coordinates with this stamp set actually cuts out this line and would actually detract from the full image that I want on this occasion. So whilst this is a beautiful die and works really well, I actually want the whole image. And it's not that difficult to fussy cut. The best way is to move the card, and what we can do is trim these, make it easier, get rid of the excess, and then what I like to do is just leave a gap. So there's a little bit of a white frame, makes it easier. And also where you've got fine stalks like this, you don't want to go too close, obviously, for fear of cutting off the leaves themselves. So to save time, save you watching, obviously I'll cut that out, but here are two that I did before I came on for the video. So there's the embossed one and the unembossed one, so you can see the difference. This one is a little bit bolder, but if you want something a bit more subtle, then obviously go for that one. And my paste, I've got a black card, so I can put that on, and then you can experiment on how you... So the colour is coming from the embossing paste that you've inked with your reinkers. So that one I actually think probably is better for this one. It suits the black card, or you could use this one. Now with the Memento, of course, you can use Stampin' Blends to colour it as well. And so here is another one that I prepared. And this, I use the excess and spread those around. And then I've coloured in the flowers and added them and some butterflies and put a lighter background on. But we'll finish this one with the black for now. So if we move those to one side, I'm going to pop this up on some dimensionals. Let's see if I've got some bigger ones handy. Nope, we'll run with the small. And because the paste can make your card crinkle a bit, that's partly why I used thick cardstock, so that it's a bit more sturdy in the first place. You want to make sure that you put pads, probably I would put more on this than I would normally put if I was layering, just to give it that even boost, hopefully, all over the place. And then very quickly, if I just get my picker tool, and pull all of these off a little easier and a little quicker. I quite like this card. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's actually quite easy to do, because you could do a whole batch of backgrounds and then come back and add your stamped images. So we're going to put that on the card. Do I want like that? Or like that? Let's have a look. I think that way looks better. So it's you could do a paintbrush on this sort of thing with some more masculine colours as well if you wanted. So we've got that, and then I've got my flowers that again I'm going to try and add with sticky pads. So I'm going to look for the places, if I position it, I'm going to look for the places that there's less embossing paste and put a pad on the back or onto the card. And you can peel off all the paper, and you could use your scissors for this, snips, just so you get them tucked underneath. So peel off the individual backing. Pop them underneath. There we go. My snips. Okay, hopefully get one. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Just put them under your snips. That should just catch that one there on the end. Yes, that's it. Where else? We might put one under there. I think it'll be all right. I think the paste will take them, but obviously it's a bit uneven. So you want to just catch the lower areas and perhaps where there's less paste to be sure that it's sticking to the matte layer. Get one under there. I think that will do. Move these out of the way. And then I've got this Reason to Celebrate, which is another new stamp set. Will be in the Spring Mini in January. And I'm going to put Love You, as my daughter doesn't live near us. And so it's nice to send her a little card occasionally, just to let her know that we're thinking about her. So I'm going to get my Memento. And I probably should have done this before, but I'm going to chance it. And I'm just going to pop that on there. And I think I might put another one up there. And then maybe down there. There we go. And this has been dried for a couple of days now. So it's hopefully going to be okay there. But there we go. Now, if I wanted to enhance that a little bit like the other card I've got, I could put some dots on, or some butterflies, whatever I wanted. On this one, as I said before, I used one that I'd stamped in Memento ink. You can see the difference. If I just pop that one on the top, it doesn't stand out quite so strongly. So if you want it more subtle, then just that. Or you can colour it in with your Stampin' Blends, alcohol markers, and then add it. And then again on this one, hopefully you can see there's a little bit of sparkle. I left some areas white on purpose, and where I've left them white just to give the impression that the light is hitting it, I've added some Wink of Stella just to give it a little bit more sparkle. So you've got the two options of what you can do with it, but it's a quick way to use embossing paste and some of your re-inkers. You could do it white on a darker colour and just leave it as well, so that's another option. All right, well, I hope you enjoy the blog hop. Thanks for joining me today. Take care. Bye bye.